With the school year in full swing, we thought it was a good time to check in with Superintendent Dr. Jon Milleman. Lebanon Community School Corporation recently held its State of the School address, filled with exciting updates to every campus in the corporation. Dr. Jon details these projects and so much more from LCSC in episode 182 of the Lebanon podcast, and it starts right now.
Welcome to the Lebanon podcast, highlighting all the great things happening in Lebanon, Indiana. Have an idea for an episode? Send an email to lebanon@lebanon.in.gov.
Joe LePage, the Community Development Director for the City of Lebanon here. We are chatting and recording just on the heels of the LCSC State of the School, where Dr. Jon Milleman was sharing some great details, updates, and exciting things happening throughout the corporation. Dr. Milleman, nice enough to be here on the podcast to join us. Dr. Jon, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Oh, good morning. Thanks for having me on.
And so many great things to share, so many great details, and our list before we hit record, everybody, chocked full of different things that we can chat about. First off, just so everyone knows, all the things that we're going to chat about, Lexi Buis, Dr. Jon's great marketing gal, shared a lot of the pretty pictures, and we're going to share those with you on the body of this podcast. And so if you can, the response that you got talking about all the upgrades and different news and notes that are going on within the corporation, how'd that go for you?
Oh, it was good. I think it was great for our community members, civic leaders, our realtors, who all were invited to get a brief glimpse into the things happening in our district. And I think we touched on a lot of topics. Our students who are engaged in workplace participation, and as you host interns here as well in the city, share some numbers with the community about that, as well as our many capital projects that are happening around the district, and current enrollment trends and projections and things of that nature. So it was just good to get some of the facts and figures and images out there so folks can see what's happening.
How many conversations do you have after an address like that one where people pull you aside and I had no idea, oh my goodness, that's mind-blowing? Or even during, I know you were talking with Mayor Gentry, just kind of game planning some things as numbers were popping up there.
Yeah, I think we get questions. We do have a Q&A as part of that, and I think that's the highlight of the State of the Schools, is when our students are able to answer questions from the audience as well as our administrators. But there are a few that get thrown out there that the superintendent probably is the right person to answer. So some of those happened as part of the event, but sure, I've had 2 or 3 email follow-ups with folks in the community just wanting some clarification on some things and deeper explanation. And that's what it's all about. That's what you want to be able to inform the community. So when they see each other at an event, they're at the 4th of July parade, and someone says something about the school district, you say, I was at the State of the Schools, and let me clarify that for you. This is that's just important knowledge for the community to have.
And being able to educate them and being able to go right to you to get the info. Right. And some of the things, everybody, that's going on, the construction and all those things, the numbers that Dr. Jon Milleman was talking about, we'll get into those in just a little bit. But first, we're beginning September when we're recording this podcast here through the first month of school. You guys have leaned into and embraced the construction, the kind of change. How have things been going so far? It's
been going good. The biggest challenges, of course, are in the buildings where it's occupied, where the students are. And so, you try to navigate around that. Certainly our construction partners, go above and beyond their requirements to keep construction separate from the academic areas, but narrows a few hallways, changes a few pathways around the building. But I think we're navigating it pretty well. Actually knocking on wood here, a little bit ahead of schedule. And Perry Worth's going to get some new classrooms turned over sooner than we thought. At Harney, we turned over the new cafeteria to start the school year. That was not supposed to happen until almost fall break. So we're moving right along. The weather's been cooperative this past spring and summer, so they've been able to get after it.
It was funny during your address that this isn't a conceptual image. This is the actual real. I think it was the lunchroom that you shared where it was all wrapped up, and it looked just like the pretty pictures.
Perry Worth and Harney were able to start the year with their new cafeteria, so that was exciting.
How important was that? You gave us a tour, I want to say about a month ago or so, going through the different elementary schools specifically, where some of those improvements were taking place, and kind of talking through the game plan there. How important was that for you to be able to have as little impact to those kiddos and your staff in there to be able to teach and do business while the business is outside.
It's critical. I mean, it's a non-negotiable, quite frankly. So
non-starter.
so we those are construction trailer conversations with principals, saying the phasing of the projects is dependent on the delivery of instruction. And so Meyer Najum is our construction manager for all of our projects. So we sit in the construction trailer with the principals, and they bring a concept to the table and then work with the principals to tweak that plan, knowing that it's going to be inconvenient in some form or fashion, but to do so in a way that maximizes instructional environments and the learning environments for our students.
So New Central Elementary, improvements at Harney, Perryworth. You referenced some improvements at Stokes as well. The middle school is getting some. The high school, I mean, everyone's getting a little bit of an upgrade.
Yeah. Don't want to lose sight of the upgrades to Stokes. And then we continue. When we were campaigning for the operating and capital referenda in 2022, we were reminding folks that when these construction projects were commencing and concluding, that Hattie B. Stokes would have been in existence for over 20 plus years. And that's mind blowing for some folks who remember it being built, and it's the new, quote unquote, new elementary. So it's time for some facelifts. Kids are hard on buildings, not necessarily intentionally, but there are a lot of feet and arms and hands and bodies that pass through a building in 20 plus years. So there are some needs there as well. So we're going to be upgrading the finishes to that building, making them consistent with all of the new construction and renovation. So I don't want to lose sight of that.
And you mentioned the term facelift, and you share with us some maybe the antiquated kind of how technology has changed. And so one of the rooms specifically we walked through at Stokes was going to be upgraded and kind of brought into a modern type feel.
Yes.
Is there kind of an overarching theme for the improvements, whether it be facelifts or whether it be just kind of growing pains for a corporation that's growing or a community that
There's consistency to the degree possible. You are limited to the original footprint at Harney and somewhat at Perryworth, although at Perryworth, where if folks are familiar with that building, it's kind of set up in pods, grade level pods. Well, now there are connecting hallways because we've broken through the wall on the opposite side of those pods. So now we're connecting the building with a little bit better flow and honestly safety from the standpoint of multiple egresses from the building. And then Harney's just kind of within that footprint, we were able to really maximize that by constructing a new gymnasium. The gymnasium at Harney was in the center of the building. So we converted the gymnasium into 4 classrooms. They're actually finished, and there are students in those new classrooms today. And so that gymnasium is now 4 classrooms. So now we're able to create an academic environment throughout the building proper and have the new gymnasium kind of in its own space.
Gotcha.
So that was exciting to be able to create that.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody, we're talking with Dr. Jon Milleman. He is the superintendent of Lebanon Community School Corporation. I got to be honest, during your presentation and the slides, everybody, again, are going to be attached to the body of this podcast. But the middle school, the how that is being reconfigured and how you talked about initial footprint and things that can't be changed. You guys are kind of reworking how that lays out. Man, that finished product is going to look phenomenal as that LMS is getting switched
probably
around
the most transformational, other than Harney. It may be a 1 and 1A there. Probably the most transformational project that we're doing. Many of your listeners will recall attending Lebanon Middle School when it was an open concept building. And, meaning that there were basically no walls between classrooms, kind of a free-flowing concept, pretty popular back in the mid-'70s. And then it was changed into more individual classrooms in one of the renovations. However, in doing that, of course, it did the best we could with resources available at the time. But that created a lot of dead-end hallways and difficulty in the flow of folks and students throughout the building. Supervising those hallways is a challenge. So this configuration is creating 2 main corridors throughout the building, front to back, and it will allow for better supervision, better flow for our students, making them more comfortable. It will essentially look and feel like a brand new building when it's complete. There's really no area other than the gymnasiums really that are going to be and that are not going to be touched as part of this project.
I got to totally honest, full transparency. My mind was blown, like I talked about earlier in the podcast. Looking at that image of what LMS will look like, the main entrance is transformational for sure.
I think the community will be very proud of that product, and we look forward to the open houses. We will create those. It's just we wouldn't be able to take a community through the construction zones right now. So we'll be able to, we will schedule those and make those available to the community when the time is right.
And then not to be outdone, the high school. You talked about some of the changes in your presentation. And again, I keep referencing it, and sorry, I keep doing this, everybody, but the images that are going to be there, the main kind of where you drop off your kiddo or where you're going to go in and sign them out for kids to walk in is going to have kind of a different streamline, more or less better flow.
Exactly. Yeah. The main office is getting a kind of a reconfiguration just now that we've lived in that space for 10 years. There's some office locations that need to be better placed. It needs to be a better flow for, as you said, sign in, sign out, the attendance, main office, things of that nature to create a better working flow. School safety is obviously a priority in all of our buildings. And so we're taking this opportunity to move the school police officer, the SRO, to the front of the building, overlooking the main entrance of the high school. That's been a theme throughout all of our building projects in all of our buildings, middle school as well, of course. So that's a big upgrade just from a school safety and security standpoint. And then as you go into the cafeteria commons area, we're capturing a little kind of a group room in the center of that space and part of the media center, and creating a student commons that students can come and gather, work on group projects, be there before and after school, have opportunities for clubs to meet, our guidance department perhaps giving presentations to families and students about scholarships or opportunities for students. It really has kind of a student union feel to it.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
And so I think, and it'll expand our cafeteria seating as well, as we kind of anticipate potential additional students, because it's a little bit undersized cafeteria. And so just all of that flow of students and making it a little bit more a casual yet upgraded feel.
Yeah, adjectives that came to mind, inviting and collaborative, were two of the things. Is looking at those images where it has kind of a college campus type feel. You talked about the commons, but then those kiddos that are going to go off into the workforce, that has kind of a feel to it where you could collaborate and have some synergy.
I think you see that professional environment. I think our students will encounter no matter what walk of life they're in. And then in 2010, when the last renovation of the high school took place, 2011, 10, 11, 12, the athletic area was not touched as part of that renovation. So those are still, I don't know if they're original fixtures in the locker rooms, but they're pretty old. Yeah. You've been in there as a coach, and so you know. So it's time to refresh that. So we're capturing what's now the football locker rooms and creating a new physical education locker room space could be dedicated for that. So constructing a new football and could be spring sports as well, locker room facility kind of toward the football field. And then constructing a student activity center, which will consist of 3 courts, 1 wooden court, 2 synthetic courts, a 3-lane track around that space, batting cages for our softball and baseball teams. This will allow many of our athletes are required to come back 5, 6 o'clock to start their practices because of the limitations in space.
Availability.
So this is going to give our athletics an opportunity to all practice, or most of them practice anyway. I shouldn't say all, never say all. Many, if not most, teams to be able to practice directly after school, getting our kids home sooner. But the reality is that there are no single season sports when it comes to practice and preparation anymore. Times have changed where all of our sports are year round. And if you're not in a position where your students have the opportunity to compete and prepare 12 months out of the year, you're not in the same place as our competitors. So that's a reality as well. And our band program has several competitive winter programs. Our Winter Color Guard had 3 separate groups last year competing, and they have to find space to rehearse wherever they can. So, they go to Perryworth, they trek down to Perryworth or wherever. And this will give them an opportunity to have a space within their school to be able to rehearse, whether it be a percussion groups or any of our winter color guard groups. So this will be truly an activity center. It'll be used for physical education. So it's going to be and the community, obviously it'll be available to the community as well when we get that under roof.
And I mean, this is such an education too, because this new build, this field house, and kind of air quotes with a field house, everybody, but this will be more or less where the kind of near the football field is located, and there's a baseball / softball field that's often used by little leagues.
I call it the kickball field. But yes, a lot of the little league you see folks there from time to time. That will be going away. It'll be coming right across that outfield and into that space. So.
But how important is that to be able to have something that not only, this is one of those things that doesn't just touch the athlete. You talked about the color guard, you talked about the community, you talked about just having young people being able to recreate there in a space. It seems like these upgrades that are being made corporation-wide touch 90+% of the student body and the greater community as well in a positive way.
In youth sports, you know, students who are in the color guard and in the band program and percussionists. I don't know if this is accurate, but I just anecdotally, many, if not most of those students participated in youth sports. Right. I mean, they tried out soccer, they tried out softball, they tried out youth football. Youth sports are huge in a community. And so having a space of this quality to be able to grow your student, just your student participants, just keeping them involved. They may not remain in athletics. They may move on to drama. They may become, a painter. They may, who knows what they may gravitate toward, but that experience that communities create for their young citizens to be able to participate in those sports is crucial to their upbringing and their development. And so these are spaces that I know will be used for those purposes, and that's exciting.
And one of those kind of the spaces to kind of continue on that vein, you shared all the collaborative partners throughout the community. You let the young people try it on to be able to check out careers and things, being able to get out in the community. I lost track of the number, to be honest with you, but it was more than one screen that you showed and shared with us of all the collaborative partners that are accepting here locally, regionally.
Yeah, I think we have over 140 community partners now.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Which is just tremendous for a community of our size, to that folks are willing to accept high school students into their workplace and help mentor them and help expose them to careers and opportunities. It speaks to our community involvement. So
yeah, and a number of different people. You can try on that career and just kind of see if it's for you, or pivot and be able to go in a different one, similar to the youth sports aspect.
That's right.
Everybody, we're talking with Dr. Jon Milleman. He's the superintendent of Lebanon Community School Corporation. All the construction, all these things, all these great changes that are happening, some challenges along the way to go along with the construction, the increased enrollment, all those things you're forecasting out as a community.
Anytime you're renovating a school, you're going to, just like renovating a home, you tear down the wall and find something behind it, right? So there's always some challenges with construction. But as I said, we're thankfully on target right now from a timing standpoint. The challenge that's going to face our community, it's an emotional topic, quite frankly, is we have to redraw our attendance boundaries for all of our elementary schools. That's actually a project today. When I leave here, I'm going to be putting some touches on a presentation that I'm going to be sending to all of our families here in the next 5 to 7 days, kind of launching that project. All 4 of our elementary schools boundaries will likely be altered as part of this. We've added capacity for our elementary students, but we're under capacity in Hattie B. Stokes. We're under capacity if we were to open the new central today. So we have to do that. Districts need to do that from time to time, even if you're not a growing district like us. So that's our big challenge ahead, is to prepare our community for that and parents for that. So that's our next big challenge, and we haven't been shy about it. This is coming, but now it's here, and we have to have it completed by. I hope to have it completed by January and bring a recommendation to the school board in January so that we can communicate with families, to kind of change our staffing that's going to be affected by shifting the population from building to building. So we need a few months to get that done. So it's going to happen quickly. It will be September through December, and that's a short time frame. So things are going to get ramped up very quickly, and folks will begin to see some things about that.
Well, you shared a pretty telling image of just how things lay out now in the geographic center of the corporation.
Yes.
And it was another eye-opener where it was, oh man, yeah, something needs to be done here because it's a challenge.
It's a
for sure,
challenge.
yeah.
We understand that we have 2 municipalities within our school district. And I will impress this in every presentation I make. That's true. However, we're one school district, and a school board has to separate the municipalities and look at it as a whole. Not everyone necessarily instinctively does that, but that's something the school board and administration has to look at the district as a footprint. And you look at some of our friends and neighbors when you, Noblesville and Hamilton Southeastern are a good example of that.
Yeah.
So many students that attend Hamilton Southeastern have Fortville addresses, have McCordsville addresses, and have Noblesville addresses. They're not Fisher's addresses.
Yeah.
So yes, there's multiple municipalities that feed into that school district, but when they have had to redraw the boundaries, they look at that as a school district boundary, and then talk about the population and where we need to move students. Noblesville the same way. They have Fisher's addresses and Noblesville addresses. So it just hasn't been done here for a while. It's not, there's neighbors that give us examples on how they've done it. But it is an emotional piece. Folks get tied, to schools that maybe their children have attended or are currently attending. So I understand that, and we're sensitive to it, but it's a necessity that we need to go through here.
Yeah, you talked about one corporation, and even though it's in a couple different municipalities, one of the challenges, not negatives, but challenges, is becoming more diverse as a school population. That's another thing that you address, that the number of different languages that are now being spoken throughout the hallways of various schools throughout the corporation is increasing, and that not a bad thing. Just
it's a great
challenging
thing. It's
thing.
a great thing. It's a great
absolutely.
thing for our students to learn from each other and learn from cultures that are perhaps different than theirs. We are between 30 and 40. I think we're in the upper 30s now of languages spoken. I want to say 39 when I counted, but that may be off by 1 or 2, but it's above 30 languages within our school district. And that number has significantly increased in the last 2 to 3 years. And so while it's exciting and to have a diverse student population, it's also a challenge for our staff to be able to get their arms around those students whose English is not perhaps their first language, and to be able to get them acclimated to the subject matter and be prepared for the standardized tests and all the things that come with it. So there are certainly some academic challenges for our students and some pedagogical challenges for our staff.
And you said it well before we hit record that a lot of that different melting pot in the various elementaries all kind of congregates and comes to a center at LMS.
That's right.
And you were putting in things in place to help out staff throughout the corporation, kind of be able to juggle a little bit, kind of deal with the kind of mental load that educating it certainly takes, but then adding some other things like different nationalities that would pose as well.
Right, and any challenges that students may bring to the school on a daily basis. Our adults care deeply about their students and want them to succeed, but also want to address their personal needs, that see them as people, certainly not just, a student that's a consumer of education. And I shared at the State of the Schools that one of the metrics that's emerging in the Gallup poll of the public's perception of public education, a growing metric is that mental health of students, that is more and more recognized by the public, that this is a need of students, that we need to address mental health. But as I pointed out to the group last week, we can't lose sight of staff mental health and administrators' mental health, because meeting those students' needs can be stressful. And as you learn, some of the difficult circumstances that perhaps some of our students come to us from, that weighs on you. It weighs on you as a human being. And so I don't take that lightly. So we were fortunate enough to win a grant that we're putting in place for this school year. And within that grant, we are building in some staff mental health supports. It's voluntary. It's not something that we will say we're going to, we're going to provide this to you, but we're making it available to them. And so we're excited to be able to do that. And it's just important to be able to not lose sight of that need.
Absolutely. And would be remiss remiss if I didn't mention another one of the needs that you shared as well. And along with the increase in enrollment has been the poverty numbers
Yes.
and the food insecurity numbers that maybe kind of get lost in the shuffle. And it's not one of the sexy topics like a new building, but at the same time, it is one of those challenges and another ball in the air that you and the team have to juggle at LCSC.
Yeah, we've seen double-digit increases in that area in most of our schools. Certainly, Harney and Perry Worth as examples, and so with that again is part of the challenges that you mentioned, and we embrace that challenge, and there are best practices around that we try to equip our staff for, and plug them in to them being the families into some supports and resources within the community to assist them.
Yeah, that's great. Now, as we're not even to Christmas yet, so we're still in semester one, but a lot of great things are happening, continue throughout the corporation wide. Things that we can expect if that wasn't enough, everybody, if enough drinking hasn't taken place out of that fire hose, other things that we can look forward to. You referenced the former Central Elementary going pre-K action.
Yes.
There. Other things
I think
that
that's
maybe on your
an
radar?
important one to touch on. We are in the final stages of design. We don't have to do significant upgrades to Central on the current Central to prepare for pre-K, but there are some dated cabinetry and finishes and things, of course, that we will touch on there. But 65% of that building will be dedicated to pre-K or developmental pre-K instruction. So more to come on that. We are still trying to figure out the exact programming and the logistics of all of that, but sometime in 2026 is when that should become available, and then we are going to be relocating our central office to the other 35% of that building. We didn't talk about that much at the State of the Schools, but the superintendent's office and the central office will be moving to the remaining 35% of the current central building, and then we'll be looking for repurposing our current administrative center, and we've got some ideas for that, but we'll talk about those at a later time.
Exactly. In your spare time, because there's so much of it. If we can run down quick, last thing here, Dr. Jon, the finishing dates or even years when it comes to new Central and Perry Worth upgrades and all those things. Mainly happening in the next year and a half.
Elementary should be buttoned up to start next school year. Okay. So by the summer of 25, we should be complete with our elementary projects. It will not be until the summer of 27 that the middle school will be complete. That'll be similar to the high school. The activity center will be the quickest because it's a separate building. So they'll be able to get that under roof and get things rolling in those locker rooms that are new in those new spaces. So that target will be around 27 as well. Our new transportation center, which is located on the same campus as the middle school and the new Central Elementary, that will be ready to open probably summer of 25. That one's going quicker. It's just an easier building and it's a new build. So we're able to get that under roof. What am I leaving out? Hattie B. Stokes will probably be sometime in 27 as well. We won't start 26, 27. It'll begin later than these other elementaries are under construction right now. So it'll be a little bit delayed at the Hattie B. Stokes upgrade. So sometime in 26, 27 for Hattie B. Stokes. I think I've listed them.
Yeah, you nailed it. And that was right at the top of your head, and I kind of threw a curveball at you, and you nailed it, knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's an exciting time for Lebanon schools, and I appreciate you being at the helm and
well, it's an honor to do that, and it's as I shared at the State of the Schools, I did my research before coming here. You want to be picky about the communities that you're part of and the school communities and the partnerships that are underway, and this certainly was a district that was attracted because of that, and so it's turned out to be the case. So it's my pleasure and honor to do it.
Yeah, and we're glad that you're here. And everybody, once again, I put all the information and the slides and things, the pretty pictures of what we've been talking about in the body of the podcast. You can click on it. You can go through yourself. There were 50-some slides in Dr. Milleman's State of the School, and just a plethora of information, if you will, to be able to check out all the great things taking place throughout the corporation. Dr. Milleman, we appreciate your time.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for giving some of it.
Always a pleasure.
To be here. And thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Love and Lebanon podcast. More episodes coming your way soon. Take care.